Hey guys, Scott here to talk about the developer update for 8.7.0. This, from what I can tell, is mostly a quality of life thing, and they did say they were going to do this, and a lot of it does seem to be geared towards newer players, so a lot of this won't affect people that have been regularly watching DBD videos, things like that. A lot of this is just to get people who are going to be joining with Five Nights at Freddy's, which I assume is going to be a lot of people. It's to get them feeling much better when they start the game, so although this is not a particularly exciting update, other than a couple of things which I'll get to, it is sort of a necessary one because we need the new player experience for when that comes out to be as good as possible, because that'll probably be the biggest chapter the game ever gets in terms of player base. So this is like, the pinnacle of DBD's player base. They want to make a good impression. And so, like I said, not very exciting, but very crucial to do this well and make new players have a much better experience. So I think that's a very, very good idea. That being said, let's go over all the things that are changing. First up is the quest system. This is basically replacing the daily ritual things that a lot of people don't even know exist anymore. Tomes and whenever there's like an event tome or things like that. It's just replacing all those things. So quests are going to be organized into distinct groups, including daily quests, rift pass quests, and event quests. Quests do not need to be selected to be considered active. All available quests are eligible for completion at all times, which is really great, meaning you don't have to go, okay, this is my Sabo round where I throw the match and just Sabo 50 times. Oh, this is my get chase round and I just run in front of the killer's face. So you can sort of do them all at once. And I think really of all of the things that are being changed, that's the most impactful. Having to select one, do it, select one, do it was just very annoying. So you can just sort of do everything now, and it's got that beautiful feeling of in classic WoW when you completed 9 quests in the Barrens and you all return to the crossroads and turn them all in and get a giant chunk of experience. It just feels much better doing stuff like that. So there's also something called milestone quests, which reward players for completing progressively higher amounts of common in-game actions. This is just a stacking, I'm guessing, repeatable type of quest. Sort of like how there are similar aspects to this in the game already, but it'll just be something that you can, I assume, repeatedly do. You can pin multiple quests for easy reference in the lobby and match detail screen in game, letting you know which quests you're currently trying to do at the moment. Again, you can do them all, but you're not going to remember the entire list of them. So you can basically give yourself a WoW quest log in the screen if you want to do that, which, I don't think I'll be using that, but it's nice for people that want to use that. And that's pretty nice. So yeah, that should be more robust than the current kind of mishmash of random daily activities that we have right now. It's all going to be in one place, and I think that's probably going to be just more easy to digest for new players, and it's also going to have some quality of life for experienced players with a lot of hours as well. So that's all good. Archives, tome, and rift changes. So like I've joked about many times, I'm not really a big proponent of any of these things. But a lot of people do like them. So I do think that them updating it is great. And so I'm just going to read these changes because, like I said, I barely interact with these systems at all, but it is important to report on it. So first, the number of levels in the Deep Rift, and then they increase the number of available alpha variants within it. I don't really even know what that means. Updated the final rift here, following the Deep Rift to act as a repeatable source of blood points. I do know what that means. So basically, once you got to the end, there was nothing left to really get. So now you can just, I guess, keep gaining that last reward, which that's fine. That's cool. The access to the archives from the lobby main menu to the bottom screen menu. So they just move in the UI position a bit. Some shit about lore, whatever. Sorry. Perk preview and lobby. This is something we all were very excited for until we actually looked into it more than 3 seconds. And it's actually basically nothing. However, what this is for is, again, for new players. This is a new player thing. So it's a widget highlighting a player's own perks in the pre-game lobby. Newly unlocked survivors and killers come pre-equipped with perks in their first slot. So this is just to let new players know that perks even exist to begin with. It's not to let you know what your teammates have in game and things like that. This is just to let new players know that the concept of perks even exists. Which I'm guessing, based on their data, must have been a lot of people that didn't know that, because this seems like well, what's the point of adding this? This does not seem like something that they just added for no reason. It seems like they really have a good grasp on how new players approach the game, and they must have seen, hey, 80% of new players aren't equipping perks. Let's try to change that. So again, not a very exciting thing, but when we're going to have a giant influx of new players, it's probably going to be a very, very good decision to have made. Pre-equipped items and add-ons. Again, this is more for new players as well. Newly unlocked survivors come pre-equipped with a small set of items and add-ons, as well as some extras in their inventory. So you'll probably start with a yellow flashlight, a brown medkit, things like that. Maybe even a map to help learn where generators are and things like that. I think that's a really good idea for new players. It's very, very smart. I would really start them with a map primarily. I think the map is the best possible item to start a new player with, so they can know where generators are, because that is the hardest thing for newer players to find. Staying injured is also scary. They're not going to get flashlight saves. That's basically pointless. So I think of all the items, the map is probably the best item to give a new player. So that would be cool if that was what they started with, so they could help learn maps and things like that. That would be really, really great. Overall, though, these are all just new player things, and there's not really any downside to adding these, so it's hard to complain about them. But, as an experienced player, and if you're watching update videos, you're probably a bit more experienced as well. None of these things are really going to affect you in any meaningful way. But they are very, very important for the overall health and growth of the game, so keep that in the back of your mind. It will positively impact the game. Next, Unhook spam prevention. Much to my sadness, you can now only fake unhook someone 3 times. So if someone is trying to go next, you can't troll them and just spam unhook on them for a minute. Very sad, but I mean, it is trolling, so I understand why they're doing it. And if it's coming at the same time as them beginning to fix, going next and things like that, I'm not sure if we're getting that quite so soon, but those two things do need to coincide sort of at the same time. So unfortunately, you can't troll people that are doing that, but, it's overall a good change, and it did need to happen. So you could only fake it 3 times, and then I believe after the 3rd time, you are guaranteed to just complete the full unhook animation. Now, I think that's fine. Now, in the early days, back when you can grab someone that was doing the unhook, this would be horrible. But that's not the case anymore, so this is really fine. You could fake it once, dodge a hatchet being thrown at you, or fake it once and dodge, a Deathsling or Harpoon or whatever, and then go for it. I can't really think of a scenario where you'd have to do it more than 3 times in rapid succession, so I think that's fine, and it's just to prevent abuse. Improved skill check safety net. This is probably my favorite thing in the entire patch. That scenario, you leave a generator, it explodes because the skill check happens, you can't do shit about it. I always thought that they should make it like Overcharge, where the skill check appears, and as you're running away, you still have a chance to hit it. It's hard to do, but you still have the option to do it. It seems like they've just gone with a very safe method of just making that window more forgiving for the survivor. So when a skill check is going to appear as you're getting off a gen, you basically will probably have like an additional second where it's not going to explode. So that's one way to do it. The Overcharge way was another way to do it. This is fine. Those scenarios are incredibly frustrating. They serve no purpose other than to piss players off, and so I think this is a great change overall. Next, killer updates. Surprisingly, there's no ghoul on here, which is very perplexing, but it might be something that he's going to be getting next week and not, for the next PTB down the line. Houndmaster, dog chase command vault speed was nerfed. So a lot of people don't know this. The dog vault speed was actually bugged. It's supposed to be 0.45 seconds, but it was like faster than that even. I know Pixelbush did a bunch of tests on it, and it was actually significantly faster. Sometimes it was like 0.2 seconds. So it was like almost 3 times as fast as the Survivor's fast vault. This is barely even a nerf. It's fixing a bug. The dog still vaults as fast as a Survivor, so it should be completely fine, but we don't have numbers here. So I don't really know exactly how this is going to work. If it's something like now it's 0.7 seconds, that's way worse. If it's 0.55 seconds, you won't even notice a difference. So the numbers here are crucial into seeing how much that is going to change the killer, because the dog is pretty insane right now. It's definitely glitched to be going too fast, and the cooldown essentially doesn't exist. So Houndmaster's Chase is really, really good, and she is a very strong killer at the moment. So I do agree with nerfing the dog's vault speed. Honestly, I think I would have nerfed the cooldown instead of the vault speed, but I would have fixed the vault speed to actually do what the numbers said, you know what I mean? So this is impossible to judge until we see more, numbers on this actual change. As compensation, she gets some more blood points. That's not really a compensation, but overall, I think that's fine, but we need to see numbers before I give a concrete judgment on that one. This is probably the biggest one. Haste and hindered stacking. These effects do not stack anymore. So if you have, for example, Hope and Mate for this, you're not going to have 3 plus 7, you're going to have 107. It's going to take the highest form of whatever number that you actually have. So let's go over and read line by line. But Haste no longer stacks with other Haste. Hindered no longer stacks with other Hindered. Updated status effect widgets to display current Haste and Hindered values, which is really, really nice. So you can see if it's 5% or what kind of effect that you have. Clown, you're going to see your 15% Hindered, things like that. Updated select perk descriptions to change base movement speed adjustments to Haste or Hindered effects, and introduce small buffs to perks which previously relied on stacking. So we're going to have to see what this means. In terms of like relying on stacking, we're thinking of things like, Power of 2, Blood Pact, and shit like that. So those packs are pretty shitty unless you combine them, and then you actually had a pretty meme, but decent build. So it's probably going to affect things like that. But the way that this is going to work, I think we need way, way more information about this. For example, things like, bloodlust. How is that going to affect bloodlust? Bloodlust applies haste to you. In fact, you even get the haste icon. Is now bloodlust going to be limited to 1 stack, or is bloodlust a separate mechanic that will still obey the 3 stacks and allow you to have 3 stacks of haste? So it's kind of hard to tell how exactly this is going to work, because bloodlust does not add 5% movement speed. That's sort of a misnomer. It adds 0.2 meters a second to your movement speed flat. So if you're moving really fast due to some other effect, bloodlust doesn't make you go 5% faster than that. It just simply adds 5% of the base movement speed of the game. So that's how that actually works. And I'm curious to see if that's going to be affected by it. Does bloodlust stack anymore? Can you even get bloodlust 3 anymore since that's multiple stacks? How are things like play with your food and bloodlust going to interact, because that's a haste effect stacking with a base mechanic haste effect, but it's called bloodlust. I have so many questions about this, and I think we need way more explanation onto how this is actually going to work. I think in theory this is a good idea, because it makes it so you can make perks stronger without worrying about them having some strange interaction where it's completely busted. So I think that's fine. They can make like Dark Theory like 3 or 4% now or something like that, and it suddenly isn't broken anymore because now it just applies to that. You can't stack it with anything else, and I think that's an interesting way to do it. But yeah, we need numbers on this. We need a lot of numbers on this. I don't know what is and is not going to stack, because there are too many little things in this game. It's been 9 years of shit being added to it. There are so many interactions I have questions about, and hopefully over the next coming weeks, we'll get more information about these things. Because yeah, this is a massive, massive change, and we need way more information about it, in my opinion. Hey guys, Scott here. I am awkwardly splicing this into the middle of the video because I didn't see this part about Pentimento, but let's go over it. So they are nerfing Pentimento, and again, very focused towards new players. It is probably the worst perk in the game for new players. You gotta find totems. You even need to know what the fuck a totem is. So I can understand them wanting to nerf Pentimento. And to be fair, it is pretty destructive to solo queue. It is kind of a free win if you start getting a couple of tokens up. So what they're basically doing is when a totem is rekindled, survivors' healing and repair speeds are reduced. This effect is increased for each additional rekindled totem. If all 5 totems are rekindled, then the totems are permanently blocked. They're also removing the other effects like, decreased recovery speed, gate opening speed, things like that. They're just making it healing and repair speeds, and that's it. And so that's cool in a sense that you start to get the heal speed penalty with 1 token. However, the effect is significantly weaker, and it's just scaling up to 5 tokens now. So this is going to be very dependent on numbers. For example, if the repair speed penalty starts at 20% and gains 2% more per stack to, the old 30%, that's fine. Now, the perk is still very, very good. No issues there. It's still an extremely usable, very, very good slowdown perk. But if it starts at like 5 and goes up by 5%, per token, suddenly it's unusably bad. So we need to just know the numbers. And in fact, I'm just not even going to comment anymore on this until we know the numbers. This could be completely fine or completely dead. I have no idea. That's it. So that is the whole patch. Again, nothing super exciting. The haste and hinder thing is pretty crazy. The quest system is going to be really nice, pretty much for everybody. The improved skill check safety net is great for everybody, but everything else is pretty much just geared toward new players, which, I'll reiterate, while boring for most of us, is necessary for the new player experience to be better, especially when Five Nights at Freddy's brings us probably to the player peak that we've achieved in the entire game's history. So overall, great changes for the most part. I'm very curious about numbers and a lot of things, but we'll just go from there when we actually get more information. That's it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.